Let's discuss how health savings account or the HSA investment strategy can help you achieve financial independence and retire early. And so for today's public live stream, I'm going to go over why HSA is better than the Roth IRA or 401k. And yes, you heard that correctly. The HSA, in my opinion, is better than the Roth IRA and 401k. And I'm also going to go over the rules for HSA that you need to be aware of before opening one, and the HSA Investment Calculator by age, which you can download all of the financial independence resources for absolutely free by visiting firesacha.com/resources. I'm also going to go over the HSA investment options with Fidelity, Optum Bank, and HSA Bank. And I personally have Optum Bank, so I can share some of my experience. But as far as what I have in my account, that will be revealed during the private group coaching session immediately after the public live stream. And lastly, I'm going to go over my early retirement strategy using the HSA and how it can be used to supplement my income when I retire early at age 45. And if you look at this diagram, it is one of our top six retirement accounts, along with 401k, Roth IRA, and HSA. My wife has her own Roth IRA and HSA, and I have my own as well. And it's not that we don't like to combine our financial accounts, but the IRS actually states that we cannot combine our IRAs or any type of retirement accounts. And each of the accounts has to be assigned an individual Social Security number. And we also have the 401k and TSP that would contribute to the maximum every year so that we can secure our retirement after age 60. But we make the HSA our priority over maximizing our contributions to our Roth IRA or 401k, and I will explain why in a little bit. In 1 second. I just got a call for a second. All right, sorry about that. So I'm going to simplify our long-term investment strategy. We have our TSP, 401k, Roth IRA, and HSA as a part of our investments, right? And these are going to be completely separate from the pensions that we're going to collect starting at age 62. And that's assuming that Social Security will still be around. But we're going to have my military pension starting at age 58 for serving in the reserve with some active duty time, and Social Security retirement pension at age 62. I'm going to elect to get the early Social Security retirement pension, federal pension at age 62, and the state pension at age 55. That's for my wife. The ideal situation is that my wife and I collectively make $100,000 a year just in retirement pensions starting at age 62, and take some money out of our retirement to travel the world, live in different countries throughout the year, and purchase more assets. And here's how we prioritize our investments. I want to make a correction from the previous live stream, and I want to thank, Randolph H, for calling out the mistake that I had on the screen. Our number one priority is to get the employer match with the 401k. And once we get the employer match, then I move on to the HSA and contribute up to the maximum, which is $7,750 for family coverage or $3,850 for individuals in the year 2023. If you're 55 or older for HSA, you can contribute an additional $1,000. The next one is our Roth IRA, which is $6,500 each for me and my wife, so a total of $13,000. After we max out our Roth IRA, HSA, then we go back to our 401k to maximize the rest of the contribution. The maximum personal contribution limit is $22,500 for the year 2023, and we're doing that with my wife this year. And after we maximize our retirement accounts, then we move on to the taxable investment accounts for our early retirement. Now, let's talk about why this investment account, HSA, is better than the Roth IRA or 401k. The health savings account, or HSA, has quadruple tax benefits that you can't get with a 401k or Roth IRA. A Roth IRA has double tax benefits, but the HSA has quadruple tax advantages. And with the Roth IRA, you'll have to pay your federal, state, and FICA income taxes up front, and then the investment will grow tax-free and withdraw the Roth IRA earnings and interest tax-free when you turn 59 and a half. You can also withdraw the contributions at any time tax-free and penalty-free. With an HSA, the contributions you make are in pre-tax dollars, which means you don't pay federal or state income taxes, except for California and New Jersey at the time I'm recording this video. And you don't pay Social Security and Medicare taxes or FICA for the HSA contribution. And I'm going to go over some state exemptions in a little bit. And what you probably didn't know is that you can actually invest what you contribute to the HSA to index funds, ETFs, bonds, individual stocks, or target date retirement funds. The capital gains and dividends that are paid by these investments are also tax-free at the federal level. And at any time, you can take your contributions, earnings, and interest out of the HSA penalty-free and tax-free as long as you use it for qualified medical expenses, which I'll also go over later on in the live stream. And this is how HSA generally works. And assuming that you're eligible to get the HSA with your employer under the high deductible health plan or HDHP, your HSA contributions will be automatically deducted from your paychecks. And again, this is your pre-tax money going straight to the HSA without federal, state, or FICA taxes. And what's also awesome is that some employers can give you a match like the 401k. My employer gives me a match to the HSA every single year. Well, for now anyway. But they also have the power to stop making employer contributions. So keep that in mind. But here's the catch. Unlike the 401k, the employer match does count towards your contribution. So in 2023, the contribution limit for single individuals is $3,850. And the contribution limit for a family plan is $7,750. If your employer gives you $500 every year under the individual plan, then you're only allowed to contribute up to $3,350. With the 401k, the employer match does not count towards the personal contribution. So please keep that in mind. And when you put money in the HSA, it automatically gets deposited in the HSA checking account. You're going to get an HSA debit card in the mail when you first open the account. The second portion of your HSA will have an investment brokerage account, and you can move cash out of the checking account and put it in investments and vice versa. But keep in mind that some HSA brokers have restrictions like keeping a certain amount of cash inside a money market account before you start investing. My HSA with Optum Bank has a requirement to keep $2,000 in cash and then invest the rest. So again, make sure you read all the fine print before opening one. And lastly, you have the option to move money out of HSA and put it in your checking account at any time, but only if you use it for qualified medical expenses. You can't just use it for whatever you want, or you're going to get penalized for 20% plus federal and state income taxes on top of the penalty. And after you turn 65 years old, then you can spend your HSA on non-qualified medical expenses, but you'll just have to pay ordinary income tax, right? So I encourage you to join my private Facebook group or become a member of my channel, because I have a public live stream and private group session every other Wednesday to talk about all kinds of financial independence investment and early retirement strategies. You can visit firesidechat.com/pricing or firesidechat.com/coaching to schedule your financial coaching session. Here are some state exemptions. So if you live in California or New Jersey, I'm sorry, you're going to have to pay some taxes on this. But almost all the states won't tax your HSA contributions, okay? Almost. If you live in California or New Jersey, your HSA contributions and employer contributions are required to be treated as taxable income, but only in California and New Jersey. You're still not going to get taxed by the federal government, but California and New Jersey still want their piece of your pie. And if you live in Tennessee or New Hampshire, you're required to report dividends and earnings inside your HSA. They don't tax your contributions, but New Hampshire and Tennessee require you to report your dividends and earnings if they amount to certain dollars, whether you're single or married and filing your taxes jointly. These rules and laws are subject to change. So be sure to look up your state laws about income taxes and dividends. And I live in the state of Nevada, so I don't need to worry about paying state income tax or reporting my earnings in my HSA. And let me show you the simple comparison chart between HSA and Roth IRA. The HSA allows you to make pre-tax contributions, which means it will lower your taxable income every year and potentially save hundreds, if not thousands, in federal and state income taxes every year, depending on your marginal tax rate and the state you reside. Your employer could give you an employer match to the HSA or just a straight up contribution based on the provider you have. But keep in mind that unlike the Roth IRA, you don't need to have an earned income to contribute to your HSA. You just need to be enrolled in the HDHP. And when you start investing, your HSA will grow tax-free inside your HSA and reimburse yourself at any time as long as you have the medical receipts to provide proof of medical expenses. And after age 65, you can use the HSA for anything and not owe any penalties, but you will owe income taxes on the non-medical distributions. And for the Roth IRA, the contributions have to be in after-tax dollars from your checking account. So the IRS assumes that you already pay taxes on the contributions you made because your W-2 paychecks have federal, state, and FICA taxes deducted. With the Roth IRA, you don't get an employer match or employer contribution, but the investments inside a Roth IRA will also grow tax-free just like the HSA. The difference is that I can make the withdrawal on my contributions at any time without justifying that they're for medical expenses because I already pay taxes on my Roth IRA contributions. So the government can't tax me twice, right? And when I turn 59 and a half, I can withdraw the earnings and interest that accrued inside the Roth IRA, both penalty and tax-free. And I have been using this financial independence checklist or the FIRE checklist since 2017. And I actually didn't get to start contributing to my HSA until a year ago in 2022 because my previous employer didn't have the high deductible health plan or HDHP. You can also download this FIRE checklist and my other financial independence resources for absolutely free by visiting firesetcha.com/resources. And if you're wondering what equipment I have in my YouTube studio, you can visit firesetcha.com/shopping to check out my shop. But anyway, I'm prioritizing HSA over the Roth IRA because HSA allows me to save about $1,200 a year on taxes. After I max out the HSA, I max out the Roth IRA, which is on step 6 of my FIRE checklist. And after I max out both HSA and Roth IRA, I go to step 7 to max out my 401k. If you join my private membership group, I'm going to talk about what I have in my HSA in the private group coaching session immediately after this live stream. Just imagine this for a second, okay? You can treat your HSA like a combination of a traditional IRA and a Roth IRA. The primary purpose of the HSA is to pay for your medical expenses. But what people like me do is actually treat the HSA like a separate investment account. And I get to contribute to my HSA in pre-tax dollars, grow my HSA investment tax-free, and withdraw my HSA investment tax-free if they're used for medical expenses. And what's awesome about the HSA is that I can just invest all of my HSA contributions and use my cash to pay for my medical expenses. I'm very organized with the HSA because anytime I make a withdrawal from my HSA, I need to have a receipt to prove that it was a medical expense. So, for example, let's say I have a Costco pharmacy receipt in the amount of $100 from 2022 for my contact lenses. And I paid $100 out of my own pocket, and I never touched my HSA. Because I didn't use my HSA to pay for my contact lenses, and as long as I keep this receipt, I can withdraw $100 from my HSA at any time, tax-free and penalty-free. And I can reimburse myself that $100 this year, next year, or 20 years from now. It doesn't matter when I do it as long as I have the receipt. So imagine spending $3,000 this year on medical expenses, and I get to reimburse myself $3,000 tax-free and penalty-free when I retire early. And stay tuned because I'm going to go into the HSA investment strategy later on in this live stream. But first, you need to know the rules and benefits before you open an HSA in 2023. So here are some quick facts about the HSA that you need to know. An HSA is for people who are enrolled in a high deductible health plan, also known as the HDHP. Don't confuse HSA with FSA because they're entirely different from one another. The money you put in the FSA has the rule to use it or lose it every year, but the money you put in the HSA can be carried over year after year. You can make pre-tax contributions to the HSA, grow your investments tax-free, and withdraw your HSA tax and penalty-free for medical expenses. Not to mention that you can reimburse yourself whenever you want, no matter when you made the medical expenses. And since I have to keep at least $2,000 in cash inside the HSA because of the rules with my HSA broker with Optum Bank, I consider $2,000 as a part of my emergency fund in case I have a major medical emergency that requires a high deductible or some type of premium. And I'm going to use HSA as a part of my travel fund. Yes, you heard that correctly. When I retire early, I'm going to use it as a travel or entertainment fund because I'm going to have all the medical receipts saved from 2022 until the day I retire. So if I spend $3,000 a year in medical expenses in 2022, I can use the receipts I saved for $3,000 and reimburse myself in 2031, 2032, or whenever I want. It's like going on a work trip and getting reimbursed by your employer for all the per diem, but you get to choose to be reimbursed whenever you want. And if you're leaving your employer anytime soon, you can actually use the HSA to help pay for the COBRA premiums to continue your medical coverage. And if you're already 65 years old, you can use HSA to pay for Medicare Part B, Part D, and Medicare Advantage premiums. And also, just because you change your health insurance plan, it doesn't mean that you need to close your HSA. If you change your health insurance plan from an HDHP to a non-HDHP, you can still keep your HSA open, but you just won't be able to contribute to it. And lastly, there are some special rules when it comes to having FSA and HSA at the same time. And I'm going to go over it later on in the live stream. And let me show you this. This is IRS publication 502. If you look at this, it tells you what qualifies as a medical expense. And I know this is from 2022 because they don't have the 2023 version yet. And if you go to page 3, under the family plan, the qualified medical expenses will cover your spouse and children, but you just need to make sure that they're on your health insurance plan as well. And page 4 tells you what person in your family is a qualifying relative. And starting on page 5, you can find qualified, here we go, qualified medical expenses in alphabetical order. It also includes your dental and vision expenses like contact lenses and dental treatment. And I want you to keep in mind that California and New Jersey have different tax rules when it comes to HSA contributions, which I mentioned earlier in the live stream. And if you're watching this on replay, just watch the previous clip and you'll see how California and New Jersey still tax your HSA contributions. And if you're looking to see if you're qualified to open an HSA, you need to look at your current health insurance plan, and it should tell you if you're in a high deductible health plan or HDHP. It might not tell you on the surface, but let me just give you the breakdown here. So a high deductible health plan has certain requirements for deductibles and out-of-pocket expenses. For the year 2023, the minimum deductible for the individual plan is $1,500, and the minimum deductible for the family plan is $3,000. And the maximum out-of-pocket cost for the individual plan is $7,500, and the maximum out-of-pocket cost for the family plan is $15,000. And keep in mind that the out-of-pocket maximum includes co-payments, deductibles, and co-insurance amounts, but they do not include the premiums. And these amounts do increase every year based on inflation. And the HSA will come along with your HDHP. If you don't have an HSA now, then you're probably not enrolled in an HDHP. The other possibility is that you have an HDHP, you got an HSA debit card, and you just completely forgot about it. Trust me, Healthy people actually forget to do their annual checkups and end up forgetting about the HSA. Um, and speaking of the HSA, the maximum contribution limit for the individual plan is $3,850, and the family plan is $7,750. There's also a catch-up contribution for the people over the age of 55 to contribute an extra $1,000 each year. The $1,000 catch-up contribution hasn't changed in a while, but the contribution limits do change based on the annual inflation rate. We saw a big jump in the HSA contribution limits in 2023 because of the high inflation we saw in 2022. And I want to show you this. And if you truly want to dollar cost average by deducting your paycheck, this is what I do with my HSA contributions. Before the year began, I knew that 2023 had 26 pay periods because I get paid biweekly. But you have to know how much your employer is going to contribute to your HSA. And in my case, my employer contributes a very generous amount of $1,500 every calendar year. Put employer, okay? So I need to subtract $1,500 from the maximum contribution limit of $7,750 minus $1,500. Because the employer contributions are included in the maximum HSA contribution. So that leaves me $6,250. Okay. So, to simply put, I just divided $6,250 divided by 26, and that's going to give me $240.38. And that's going to be my contribution amount every 2 weeks directly from my paycheck to my HSA, including my employer contributions. And if you get paid twice a month, then just divide your personal contributions minus the employer contributions by 24. So basically the formula goes just like this. It's your maximum, your personal contribution, okay, minus employer, and then divided by the amount, your total pay periods in 2023. So if you get 26 paychecks in 2023, then that's how many times you divide it by, or you can divide it by 24. It's just depends on how frequently you get paid. Easy peasy, right? But when can you not contribute to your HSA? One, if you or your spouse are enrolled in TRICARE, Medicare, or Medicaid. Two, if you receive VA medical benefits for any non-service connected disabilities in the past 90 days, you're not going to be eligible for the HSA. Three, if you're claimed as a dependent on another person's tax return. Four, if you have a healthcare FSA or healthcare HRA, which stands for flexible spending account and health reimbursement arrangement, respectively, then you're not eligible to contribute to your HSA. The only exception is if you have the limited purpose or limited healthcare FSA, then you can contribute to both of them at the same time, which I'll cover in the next segment of this live stream. So be sure to subscribe if you haven't done that already. And five, you do not need to be employed to contribute to your HSA. This is different from the Roth IRA. You don't need to have an earned income to contribute to your HSA, but you will need to be enrolled in a high deductible health plan or HDHP to open an HSA. You just need to make sure that you get the health insurance that clearly says that the plan is HSA eligible. And six, this is a little bit complicated, so bear with me here. If you're married and you and your spouse both work for separate employers, let's say you have an HDHP with an HSA, but your spouse has a non-HDHP insurance plan, then the spouse with an HDHP is the only one who's eligible to contribute to an HSA. You would need to get an individual plan for the HSA with a maximum contribution of $3,850. The same rule applies if one of you has TRICARE or retire with Medicare. If you're not sure which plan you're on, make sure to contact your company HR or talk to your local CPA before you file your tax return in 2024 so you don't get penalized by the IRS. So if you're a self-employed individual like me, you can find your own HDHP and establish an HSA. Just make sure to read the IRS publication about the eligibility requirements. And you need to be very careful with the HSA contribution, because if you over contribute to your HSA, you're going to end up paying a 6% penalty on the excess contribution. And keep in mind that it's your personal contribution and not the interest and earnings that you make inside your HSA. You also need to make sure that your spouse isn't enrolled in the non-HDHP insurance plan, or you could end up over contributing to your HSA and you could end up with more IRS penalties. But don't be discouraged if you can't open or contribute to your HSA right now, because your employer doesn't offer an HDHP. You can ask your employer to maybe consider giving you the option to have an HDHP insurance plan. It's up to your employer though. But it's not always beneficial to have the HDHP if you have an ongoing medical condition that requires you to pay thousands of dollars in copayment, or you just don't have enough cash to use to not use your HSA. If you're a healthy individual who doesn't need to spend a lot of money on medical or dental expenses every year, then I would treat HSA like a separate investment or retirement account so you can retire early with it. And if you already have an FSA, I need you to be aware of these rules before you contribute to the HSA or health savings account. So FSA stands for flexible spending account, and the key word here is spending, while HSA for a health savings account, and the emphasis is on savings. So you have to use the money you have in your FSA by the end of your plan year, with a grace period of up to 2.5 extra months to use all of the money in your FSA. HSA, on the other hand, will allow you to contribute, save, and invest your money year over year. When Congress passed the CARES Act in 2020, they added some nice changes to the FSA. You can now use FSA to purchase over-the-counter medications. Before the CARES Act, you had to get a prescription from your doctor's office for the medication to use the FSA. This new rule is permanent under the CARES Act, not just during the period of the COVID-19 pandemic. You can even go to the local drugstore to purchase and restock your medicine and personal care items with your FSA debit card. And what's another nice thing about the FSA is that you don't have to have money in your FSA to make a qualified medical expense. So, for example, if you know that you're quitting your job next month, but you haven't told your employer yet, okay, this is kind of a shady thing to do, but you can actually use all of the money in your FSA before you finish up your contribution. So let me show you an example here. So let's say you get paid biweekly, okay, and you contribute $100 every 2 weeks, right, into the FSA, all right? By the end of March, you should have $700 saved in your FSA if you do $100 every 2 weeks consistently, right? Let's say you have an out-of-pocket medical expenses of $2,000, okay? You can actually get that $1,300 in difference reimbursed by your FSA, even though you only contributed $700 in 3 months so far. So in April, you decide to quit your job, you won't have to pay back that $1,300 to your employer, and it won't even count as taxable income. Your employer will end up eating that cost of $1,300. If you work for a company with hundreds of employees, chances are your employers would offset that cost from the unused FSA funds other employees forfeited when they quit their jobs. So don't feel too bad if you feel like you're taking advantage of your employer. But don't be one of those employees who forget to use up their FSA and end up donating their money to their employers. And I would hate to see an employee donating their money to their employer because they simply forgot to use their FSA. And according to the Employee Benefit Research Institute, workers lose $3 billion a year in FSA contributions to their employers, or lose anywhere between $339 and $408 every year per employee. I doubt that you're the type of person to want to donate your income to your employer. So be sure to use all of your FSA before the end of the year. So, and these are the different types of FSA available to you depending on your employer. There's the healthcare FSA, limited purpose FSA, dependent care FSA, and the adoption FSA. And the limited purpose FSA is the one that allows you to contribute to both HSA and FSA, but you cannot contribute to both healthcare FSA, this one, and HSA at the same time. And I'm going to get into that more in a little bit. And I'm also not going to go into details on the dependent care FSA or adoption FSA because I made a separate video about it. So just search for that video on my channel. So if you have the healthcare FSA, again, you're now eligible to contribute to your HSA, but you can use your healthcare HSA or FSA to pay for eligible medical expenses, deductibles, copays, over-the-counter medications, prescription medications, and personal care items. For the calendar year 2023, you can contribute up to $3,050 to your healthcare FSA or limited purpose FSA, whichever one you choose to have. Whatever you contribute to your FSA will be deducted from your paycheck. Your FSA contributions are in pre-tax dollars, so there won't be any income taxes, Social Security, or Medicare deducted from the FSA contribution. However, your FSA contributions are not to be taken as a tax deduction. You cannot claim a tax deduction for your FSA contributions because the money was not taxed in the first place. So if your annual gross income is $100,000 a year and you contribute $3,000 to your FSA, your gross income would then be $97,000. You're only taxed for the $97,000. Now, the disadvantage of having an FSA is that it comes with a use or lose scenario at the end of the year. For the calendar year 2023, the IRS will allow your employer to roll over up to $610 into the following calendar year. However, this is completely up to the employer. So make sure to contact your HR department to find out if your employer offers the FSA rollover. If not, you need to make sure you don't over contribute to your FSA where you end up losing the money. Now, if you want to contribute to both HSA and FSA, you'll need to open a limited purpose FSA, which has the same contribution and rollover requirements as the healthcare FSA. The limited purpose healthcare FSA will allow you to pay for out-of-pocket dental and vision expenses only. You will have the same contribution amount of $3,050 for the calendar year 2023. You are eligible to pay for deductibles and copays for vision expenses like vision exams, LASIK surgery, contact lenses, and eyeglasses. You're also eligible to pay for deductibles and copays for dental expenses like cleanings, x-rays, fillings, and crowns. Your FSA will also send you a debit card to make direct purchases. And you can also get reimbursed by submitting your receipts and then getting a check or direct deposit from your FSA. So the bottom line is if you use your or your spouse's healthcare FSA to reimburse yourself for medical expenses, then you are disqualified from contributing to an HSA. However, you can contribute to HSA and limited purpose FSA at the same time because limited purpose FSA is only used for vision and dental expenses. And having both limited purpose FSA and the HSA can significantly lower your taxable income. And I encourage you to get my financial independence resources by visiting firesacha.com/resources and join my private Facebook group by joining my private membership on the YouTube channel, or you can visit firesacha.com/pricing to view other coaching plans. But anyway, let's say I'm single and I make $100,000 a year. The standard deduction is $13,850. So my taxable income is $86,150. I'm not a CPA, but I want to give you some ideas on how you can save money on taxes. So if I contribute, let's say $3,850 to HSA, okay? And my taxable income is now reduced to $82,300. If I contribute $3,050 to my FSA, then my taxable income is now further reduced. My gosh, I can draw a straight line here. $79,250. Let me know if my math is off because I'm trying to do this as fast as I can. So my marginal tax rate uh, without the HSA and FSA would put me at, what is it, 22%. That would be my 22% marginal tax rate, right? With the FSA and FSA contributions, it's going to save me 22% of $6,900. So if I multiply that by 22%, that's going to be $1,518. So I'm going to save $1,518 in total taxes. You see how I did it? But I want you to be very careful with the FSA contribution because of the use or lose rule. You don't want to contribute $3,000 and end up spending $2,000 by the end of the year, or your employer is going to take that money back to their money back. And what I would do if I were in your shoes is go through your entire medical expenses or upcoming medical expenses in 2023. And how much did you spend on dental and vision expenses last year? Because you could use the limited purpose FSA to pay for just dental and vision expenses. And if you truly want to save and invest in your HSA, you can create what's called a sinking fund to pay cash for your medical expenses and just invest your entire HSA contributions. And I'm going to go over the HSA calculation and the calculator by age and the investment strategy in the next segment of this live stream. So be sure to subscribe if you haven't done that already. And if you truly want to use your HSA as an investment vehicle, you need to create two accounts. One of them is a high yield savings account that can pay you 3 to 4% in APY at the time of recording this video. And you can download this spreadsheet at any time for absolutely free by visiting firesightchat.com/resources. So I have a high yield savings account that pays me about 4% in APY. And I strictly use that for all of my medical expenses. So I pay cash with it. So the first thing I do is look back at the previous year's expenses to find out how much I spent on medical, dental, and vision expenses. Because I get paid biweekly, I like to contribute to my HYSA every 2 weeks. So if I spend $3,000 last year and if I divide it by 26, let me type that on there, then I need to contribute $115.38 every 2 weeks to have $3,000 by the end of the year, right? So if I need to make a withdrawal for a dental copay, let's say in April here, okay, and that cost me, let's say, $200. Let me put it here. I just make the withdrawal here in April, and I'm still going to have money throughout the year. This is also called a sinking fund with targeted expenses. And I also get to carry over my fund year over year. And if I have any leftovers in my sinking fund, then I can just use them for the following year. I actually don't mind having a balance in my medical expense sinking fund because I want to use it in case of an emergency. So it's sort of like used as an emergency fund too. And for my HSA fund, I'm going to show you this. This is my HSA fund. This is a fun spreadsheet to use, but I can choose either an individual or family plan. For 2023, the maximum contribution limit for the individual plan is $3,850, and for the family plan is $7,750. So if I select the family plan, it automatically calculates how much I need to contribute every 2 weeks. And if I do the individual plan, then it's $148 for every paycheck that needs to be deducted 26 times to get to the maximum contribution of $3,850. But if you're getting an employer contribution, then you'll need to put the amount right here. Okay, so let's say you're getting a $500 employer contribution for the individual plan. Then your contribution amount is automatically reduced from $148 to $128. Did you see that? Let me show that again if you didn't see it. Let me zero it out. You see, without the employer contribution, it's $148 every 2 weeks, right? If I add $500, then now it's reduced to $128 every 2 weeks. Pretty fancy, right? Now, let's switch it to the family plan. And if my employer contributes, it's usually double the individual plan. So let's say it's $1,000 from the employer contribution. Did you see that how it's automatically reduced from $298 to $259 every 2 weeks? Because again, the employer contribution counts towards your total personal contribution limit. So if your employer contributes $1,000, then you're only allowed to contribute up to $6,750. And if you look at the top left corner here, and where it says 8%, that's the interest and earnings you expect to accrue for the year. And obviously, this is just a prediction, but you can put whatever percentage you want up here, depending on the type of investment you have. The S&P 500 has performed at a 12% average annually for the past 10 years. But a lot of people hate it when I put 12%, so I just put 8% to be conservative. And if you think 8% is too much, then I don't know what else to tell you. Anyway, let's go to the HSA. Let's see how the HSA can perform over the years. So let's say you're 25 years old, single, and you make the maximum contribution of $3,850 starting in 2023. And based on the contribution history that I looked at with the IRS, it's going to increase by about $50 every year, adjusted by inflation. And if you're single forever, and I'm sorry that sounds terrible to say, but this is just hypothetical, you could have over $1 million by the time you turn 62 years old. And the highlighted cell here is actually for an extra $1,000 for the catch-up contribution at age 55. And at age 65, right here, you can make HSA withdrawals for non-medical expenses. So it becomes a separate retirement account other than your 401k and Roth IRA. And if you get married, let's say you got married at age 30, okay? You're not going to be single forever. Then your contribution is double, right? You could potentially have over $1 million by the time you're 56 years old, okay? And $2 million by the time you're 65, if you don't spend any of it and consistently invest in your HSA. If you're in your 20s watching this video, you're in the best position to grow your HSA to 7 figures because time is on your side. Let me give you another scenario. Let's say you're 35 years old, married, and you make the maximum contribution of $7,750 starting in 2023. And based on the contribution history, it's going to increase by about $100 every year, adjusted by inflation. And you know what? This is all added by $50. That's fine. I'll just leave it at 50. Okay. And with an 8% average annual return, you would still have about $1 million by the time you turn 65. And that's if you stop contributing at age 60. Okay. And the key is to maximize your contribution every year and not spend any money from your HSA. Use the high yield savings account or the sinking fund that I showed you earlier and use cash to pay for your medical expenses so you can hyper accumulate your HSA investment. Just imagine having even $500,000 in your HSA when you're in your 50s. We all know how expensive the US medical system can be, right? And it's only going to get more expensive, unfortunately. It's a very unfortunate situation that we have right now in the US. But in your 20s, 30s, and 40s, you're in the best financial position to maximize your HSA contributions so that you can retire early. Let's say you're in your 40s, okay, or late 40s or 50s. I don't want you to be discouraged. You can still invest in the HSA because having something is better than having nothing at all. And I know you're more self-conscious about your health now. So having an HSA might give you that peace of mind going into your retirement. And the average healthcare cost for a retired couple is about $300,000 in today's dollars. So if you start contributing at age 45, by age 62, you'll get to $300,000 with an 8% annualized return by age 62. And I'd be comfortable with having over $300,000 in my HSA to help pay for Medicare Part B, Part D, and Medicare Advantage premiums when I'm 65 years old. And let's say, even if you start late at age 55, maximizing your contribution every year until age 62 will still give you around $100,000 with an 8% average annual return. The problem here is that the 8% is going to be really hard to achieve because the timeline is a lot shorter than when you're 45 or 50. So I would be more conservative and say it's a 6 or 7% return. And I'm just going to put 6% here. Okay. A 6% return will still give you a $93,000, just about. And that's if I'm on the family plan. The individual plan would be approximately over half of that. And let's say it's about $52,000. But again, even with the late start, it is still better than having something than having nothing at all in the HSA. And you know that your medical expenses will be much more when you're in your 50s and 60s. Now is the time to get ready and start investing. And remember that when you're 65, and if you decide to enroll in Medicare, you can use your HSA to help pay for Medicare Part B, Part D, and Medicare Advantage premiums. If you're in your 20s, 30s, and 40s, do not waste your time and start maximizing your HSA because you're self-insuring long-term care that you're going to need when you're older. And you're not just going to have the HSA, but hopefully you'll have your Roth IRA, 401k, or TSP to help you supplement your pensions going into your retirement. And you could also reimburse yourself with medical receipts in the future if you decide not to use your HSA to pay for your medical expenses now. And I'm not using my HSA at all because I want to reimburse myself with my medical receipts when I retire early. And I am maximizing my HSA investments so that they can grow exponentially over the years. And if you're wondering if you're eligible for the HSA, just go back 10 or 15 minutes in this live stream when I talked about it. But if you're watching this on replay, then I'll have clips published on my channel and just search for the HSA playlist. And I encourage you to download all of the spreadsheets I just showed you by going to my website, and they're completely free for you to use. And I'm going to show you the investment options in the next segment of this live stream. So now that you contributed to your HSA and have money in it, then how do you invest in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, or ETFs with HSA funds? Let me first show you how HSA self-directed brokerage generally works. Okay, so this is your HSA, and you can contribute either directly from your paycheck in pre-tax dollars or directly from your paycheck or from your checking account. Sorry. Most people choose to just automatically contribute from their paychecks to lower their taxable income throughout the year. But if you choose to contribute directly from your checking account, which will be in after-tax dollars, you can still get your tax return from the IRS for making after-tax contributions. And when you initially make the contribution, it goes directly to the core savings account or the money market fund, okay? And that's inside your HSA. It doesn't accrue much interest in the core savings account except for one broker, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Once you have money in the core savings of your HSA, then you can make the transfer to your investment account of your HSA. And certain HSAs have different rules. You can either directly invest with the HSA broker if it allows you, or the HSA broker has a contract with another broker like Fidelity or TD Ameritrade to invest in stocks, bonds, or mutual funds. So think of your HSA bank as your core savings and TD Ameritrade as your investment account. And you can transfer back and forth between the core savings account and the investment account as needed. And people like me use the HSA as a separate investment vehicle other than my 401k and Roth IRA. But anytime you want to make a withdrawal from your HSA, it has to come from your core savings or the money market fund. So if you have your HSA fully invested, you have to first sell your investments, wait for the funds to settle after the sale, and then the money will go back into the core savings account. This could usually take anywhere between 3 and 5 days. So keep that in mind. Once the money is back into the core savings account, you can make the transfer directly to your checking account. And the other option is that you're going to have a debit card issued to you from the HSA. You can actually use this debit card to make direct purchases for your medical supply, dental copay, or contact lenses. But you have to make sure that they're qualified medical expenses in accordance with the IRS publication 502. And I talked about that in the earlier part of this live stream. And if you're watching this on replay, just go to my HSA playlist to watch the video about the withdrawal rules. Because if you use your HSA debit card for non-qualified medical expenses, you're going to end up paying a 20% penalty, federal income tax and state income tax. The only exception is if you're at least 65 years old, then the 20% penalty will be waived, but you'll still owe income taxes if you use it for non-qualified medical expenses. And I want to show you these rankings from Morningstar, and you don't have to agree on these rankings. And I'd love to hear your experiences in the comment section down below. And these brokers or banks were ranked based on their fees, investment strategies, and the amount of money you keep in spending accounts before investing. So let's take a look at Fidelity here, right? And I got to say, it is a great brokerage account, not just for HSA, but for Roth IRA. My wife has her traditional and Roth IRAs with Fidelity, which I went over in my other videos. You can check it out in my Roth IRA playlist. Fidelity's money market fund before investing actually pays you 4.5% in interest at the time I'm recording this video. And other HSA banks and brokers only pay probably around 0.1 or 0.01% in interest. And if you just keep it in cash. So just the savings account alone, Fidelity has an excellent HSA. And I want to show you this real quick. Let's look at the comparison between self-directed Fidelity HSA and managed Fidelity Go HSA. And most people choose to do the self-directed Fidelity HSA to invest in mutual funds or ETFs. And you have full control of your investments and how you want to diversify your investments. You can also do the managed investments, and Fidelity will manage the investments for you. But they are going to charge you 0.35% right here every year if you have $25,000 or more. So it makes sense that Fidelity is ranked number one in all of the HSA investments, because even with the managed investments, they only charge you 0.35% of $25,000, which is only $87.50 every year. And if you have less than $25,000, they don't charge you any fees at all. But let me scroll all the way down here under spending here. And I want you to keep in mind that it can take, like I said earlier, anywhere between 3 and 5 days to withdraw your money, because it takes up to 3 days to sell your investments and then move the money from HSA investment account to your checking account. But if you need to make direct purchases for medical expenses, Fidelity will give you a debit card that you can use to shop at the pharmacy, Walgreens, or CVS. If your investments are managed by Fidelity, then it might take you up to 10 days to make the withdrawal. Back to the Morningstar rankings. Let's take a look at the next one. Home health equity is ranked second, but the quality of investment is ranked average. I don't know why. I'll look into that later on. But with an overall score of 4.2. And Lively is actually a very popular HSA broker because their app made it look really easy. And I know quite a few people who are self-employed that have HSA with Lively. And if you're someone with employees, you can sign up your employee with HSA for just $3 a month. So check out that website when you get a chance. The next one, the HSA Authority, doesn't charge any fees when you put money with them, but the quality of investments is graded as below average. And just because Morningstar says it's below average, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's below average. I want you to do your own research and find out your investment options before opening an HSA. And let's skip to HSA Bank. Yeah, because HSA Bank is another popular HSA broker that is connected directly with TD Ameritrade. And I'm actually surprised that I got a score of 3.2 out of 5. And it looks like the fees are relatively high, but it does rank its quality of investments as above average. Take a look at HSA Bank here. It has two brokerage options between the Devenir guided portfolio and TD Ameritrade self-directed brokerage. And from the reviews I read, most people choose to use TD Ameritrade self-directed brokerage because Devenir only limits you to trade their specific mutual funds. And you have more freedom to choose, it looks like, with TD Ameritrade, which is now a part of Charles Schwab since the merger happened a few years ago. But I'm pretty sure it's still going to say TD Ameritrade on it. And with TD Ameritrade, you have the option to trade in stocks, bonds, ETFs, and thousands of mutual funds. And the 401k with my previous employer was actually with TD Ameritrade. And I was a big fan of their brokerage website because it was very easy to use. Okay. I have Optum Bank, and I'm not surprised that it has scored 3.0 out of 5 because the fees are actually pretty high. And I'm actually thinking about switching my HSA in the next open season because I have it through my employer. And I'm stuck with Optum Bank because my health insurance is with United Healthcare, and they're contracted with Optum Bank for my HSA. And I started investing in my HSA with Optum Bank in 2022 because my previous employer didn't offer a high deductible health plan or HDHP. And ever since I started investing in 2022, the total amount in the HSA is pretty close to $10,000. And that only took almost about a year and a half by maximizing my HSA contributions. But the investments inside the Optum Bank are actually pretty limited, and they only offer actively managed mutual funds, a few index funds, and target date retirement funds. And I know this is kind of hard to see, but you can actually just zoom in on YouTube on your device. I didn't know you could do that. I found that out pretty recently. But it looks like Optum Bank just picked some mutual funds from Vanguard, Schwab, Fidelity, and Invesco. And if you don't know anything about the asset class, it's hard to it's hard to understand what you should invest, right? I don't think Optum Bank is very user friendly or easy for the new HSA investors to understand what they are. And looking at this list, they only have one large cap index fund, which is the Vanguard S&P 500 index fund, ticker symbol VFIAX. They also have international, fixed income, small cap, medium cap, and a mix of equity and bond mutual funds. And they also have the target date retirement funds with Schwab, but they're limited to 2020, 2030, 2040, 2050, 2060. And if you look at Fidelity, they're broken down to a 5-year increment. But keep in mind that some of these funds are pretty expensive, charging about 1 or 2% in expense ratio. The Vanguard Index Fund charges you, around 0.04 or 0.06% in expense ratio, which is much cheaper than 1 or 2% in expenses. So if you ask me if I would recommend Optum Bank, I would probably say no. And that's my honest opinion based on my personal experience. And I'm just not a fan of paying monthly investment fees and how limited the investment options are. Ever since I started investing in my HSA in 2022, the total amount in the HSA is pretty close to 5 figures. And that only took almost a year and a half by maximizing my HSA contributions. And I'm also going to reveal how much I have in my HSA and what investments I have in my HSA in the private group session immediately after this live stream. So if you're interested in that, make sure to sign up for my private group on my YouTube page or go to firesightchat.com/pricing. And if you're brand new to investing in HSA and wondering which broker is right for you, I think you'll get the most out of it with Fidelity's HSA because one, they have the 4.5% APY for their core savings account or the money market fund. And they have more options to invest like stocks, bonds, and index funds. And if you already have an HSA, take advantage of the quadruple tax benefits that come with the contributions, growth, and withdrawals. If you have an HSA that requires you to pay a lot of fees, maybe consider switching your HSA broker. I'm sure almost anyone can agree that paying unnecessary management and brokerage fees could hurt the overall return on investment. So I strongly encourage you to check out my other HSA videos. If you're watching this on replay, just go to my channel and find the playlist named Health Savings Account. And as much as I love to go through every single HSA broker, I don't want to make this live stream any longer than it needs to. And this has been another absolute beast of a video, and I hope you got a lot out of it.